Hi, it's Alex GOLDFAYN. Thanks for watching. We're talking about my new book, Evangelist Marketing. It's on the market now as we speak. And I've got a copy here open to chapter 6. And the section I'm looking at is called Early Adopters versus Mainstream Consumers. Now, Jeffrey Moore, who wrote the last book before this one that talked about marketing technology to consumers in the early 90s, his book was called Crossing the Chasm. And that chasm was the space between early adopters and mainstream consumers. Because most technology companies go after the early adopters first. That's just the way it's always been. And Moore said, and the book is excellent, and Moore said that that chasm has to be crossed or jumped across or moved over to get from early adopters to mainstream consumers. And I would argue that in fact it's no longer a chasm that separates early adopters and mainstream consumers. That with the internet, what has happened is that the chasm has become a solar system, and that the two groups are now in separate planets. So that early adopters are over here, and mainstream consumers are way over there, many, many moons and light years away. And I've got an image here on page 119, and it looks like that. And you can see that I've got the two groups basically on completely separate planets. And this is why. I argue that the two groups require completely different languages, habits, and approaches. You need different actions to market to mainstream consumers than you do for early adopters. Early adopters are highly technical. They want specifications. And what happens is you learn to speak in that way because you're going after early adopters first. The problem is their pool is very small. The pool of possible early adopter shoppers is very, very small. And then what happens is once you master those habits and the language and the techniques and the behaviors inside your company, as well as at your channels, as well as at your retailers, once you master all of those, it is nearly impossible to convert and to pivot to mainstream consumers. Almost impossible. So what I argue is avoid the highly technical early adopters altogether and make your early adopters actually be mainstream consumers. Start with mainstream consumers. They're 98, 99% of your market anyway. You really don't need the early adopters. And so master non-technical language for the mainstream consumer. Master where to talk to them from, which platforms for the mainstream consumer. Master the behaviors and the languages and the techniques and approaches for mainstream consumers. And those will be good for 98% of your market. Alternatively, you can go after early adopters first, master what they need to be reached, and you will basically contain yourself within 2% of your total market. Because relearning everything, I found with my clients, is almost impossible. Thank you very much for watching. The book is called Evangelist Marketing, on sale now. Please buy it. Please let me know what you think of it. I'm Alex GOLDFAYN.